In the fourth Transformers movie, there's a scene where a random guy in an elevator helps Stanley Tucci beat someone up. That guy? Turns out he's a Chinese boxer, Zhu Shiming, a world champion and gold medalist. Elsewhere in the movie, you'll see product placement everywhere, from a Chinese milk box and even a Chinese bank ATM in Texas of all places. If you didn't recognize these references, that's because they weren't meant for you. The growth of China's middle class has created a massive new market for the entertainment industry. Next year, China's box office revenue will likely surpass the US, making it the largest movie market in the world. China has built 27 new cinema screens per day on average this year, and as of November 2016, the country has more screens in total than the US. Obviously, the movie makers in Hollywood want to reach those customers. Transformers 4, a movie criticized for literally making no sense at all, was the only film in 2014 to collect over $1 billion worldwide at the box office, thanks to Chinese viewers. The problem is, the Chinese government only allows a certain number of foreign films to enter the country each year. And each one has to pass through the government's censorship agency.
There's kind of contradictory impulses. On the one hand, China wants to be the best at everything. They want to succeed. On the other hand, they want to promote what the leader is promoting, Chinese propaganda or socialist core values.
Before the 1990s, very few Hollywood movies made it to Chinese audiences. The Chinese government had its own film industry, and they used it to distribute propaganda, but it was failing. In 1979, 23.9 billion tickets were purchased. In 1993, that dropped to 9.5 billion. But in 1994, things started to change. The Fugitive became the first new American film set for general release to the Chinese public. It was so popular that scalpers outside theaters were getting double the price of the ticket, $1.25. 10 foreign films were allowed in 1994, and since then, Hollywood has pushed the US government to continually negotiate for higher quotas. These days, a US film typically makes it into a Chinese movie theater in one of three ways: through revenue sharing, co-producing with a Chinese company, or through a flat fee. The most common is the revenue sharing model, where the studio gets 25% of the revenue, but only 34 films per year are allowed. Over the last 10 years, American films have strategically incorporated positive Chinese story elements to bolster their chances of being one of the films selected. In Red Dawn, the enemy was originally China, but changed to North Korea in post-production. In the film 2012, Oliver Platt says,
"Leave it to the Chinese. I didn't think it was possible. Not in the time we had."
Praising China for building arcs in advance. World War Z, the book, had the virus start in China due to illegal organ trade. That's not the case in the movie. In The Martian, the Chinese space industry saves the day.
Thanks to my Uncle Tommy in China, we got another chance at this.
Millions of dollars were actually invested in the film by Bona Film Group in China. It's important to note, though, that studios don't have to do this. Harry Potter is a great example.
If you look at the regulations in a very strict sense, theoretically, something like a Harry Potter film should not be shown because you're not supposed to have superstition and wizards and things like that. But it's very hard to deny the Chinese audience Harry Potter.
Now, there are two ways to get around the 34-film limit. The least popular among big Hollywood studios today is the flat fee model because they're selling the film at a fraction of the cost and China gets 100% of the ticket sales. The other option is co-producing the movie with a Chinese company so that it's not technically a foreign film. But co-productions are the most tightly regulated, with strict guidelines on things like the film's shooting location and its finances. It also has to have at least a third of the cast be Chinese. In short, China somehow has to play a significant role in the film, and it can't be as the villain.
Drop your weapons, or I kill the man!
Before Looper was released, its director and studio partnered with DMG, a Chinese-based entertainment company, to adapt the film to a Chinese audience. DMG recommended that the script be rewritten to take place in Shanghai rather than its original location in Paris. But ultimately, separate American and Chinese versions of Looper were released because the Chinese scenes in the film didn't resonate with US and international audiences.
And that's always the issue when you're dealing with China and deciding on a co-production. As important as the China market is, it's not the only market.
Ultimately, China wants their own films to outnumber and outplay their foreign competitors, so they're building their own Hollywood. It's an $8.2 billion investment slated to open April 2017 from the same company that actually bought AMC in 2012 and subsequently doubled their ticket sales. Sure, China will share their facilities with U.S. studios, but their doors are still only half open. That film quota that has held the U.S. at bay for the last 2 decades will also apply to Hollywood studios vying to book the state-of-the-art facilities.